They are fixing the elections in Texas. But that does not mean that California should fix the elections because of that. Two wrongs don't make a right.
You don't buy what Governor Newsom's saying?
Of course not. Look, I've sat there in Sacramento. I've listened to the politicians for 7 years. They are not interested in giving any power to the people. The only interest that they have is to take power away from the people and grab it themselves. So this gives them a great opportunity by saying, oh, we have to fight Trump. Let's go and get rid of...
Arnold Schwarzenegger just lobbed a political grenade straight into Gavin Newsom's front yard. And California hasn't been this glued to the drama since the last rolling blackout. Apparently, the Terminator got tired of flexing biceps and decided to flex opinions instead. And somewhere in Sacramento, Newsom is probably wishing Judgment Day had stayed safely in theaters. Because when the Governator comes for you, it's not a calm policy disagreement. It's a cinematic roast loaded with one-liners, protein powder, and unhinged blockbuster energy. Buckle up.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties, and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe. Skipping this one should be illegal. California may need a whole new state anthem because Arnold Schwarzenegger just flipped the political playlist on its head. The guy who once took on killer robots has now turned his sights on modern bureaucracy. And somehow Gavin Newsom wound up as the final boss. When the Terminator looks at California and basically says, "I'll be back once the taxes chill," you know the timeline has officially glitched.
You know, it's like there's some challenges all over the world. Los Angeles has its challenges, and I hope they solve the challenges very quickly, and that the federal government and the state and the locals all can work together in solving those problems.
I'm sure you're glad you don't have to be a decision maker anymore, or do you wish you were?
I would be more than happy to make those decisions.
Poetic, honestly. A Hollywood action hero turned governor, turned globe-trotting eco-warrior, now locking horns with a man whose hair looks like it's been campaigning longer than he has. You can almost smell the ego in the air. A heady mix of cologne, ambition, and policy promises left in the dust.
What's your view in terms of what should happen nationwide when it comes to redistricting?
Well, first of all, in California, it's a big mistake to go and to dismantle and to basically kind of get rid of the independent redistricting commission under the auspices of we got to have more power than the Republicans and we got to fight Trump.
Arnold didn't just call out Gavin, he delivered a full-blown cinematic moment. The kind where you expect him to spark a cigar, lean back, and tell California it needs more biceps and less bureaucracy. When a former governor who once ran the state on charisma and protein powder starts schooling the current one, the drama gets juicier than any Hollywood reboot.
I got much further when I was governor by working together with the Democrats, by letting them know they're not the enemy. That I am a strong believer that if we want to go and make California successful or America successful, we can do this the best possible way by having Democrats and Republicans work together.
Because Gavin Newsom isn't just a politician anymore. He's a fully optimized brand. His hair has more architecture than California's economy. His speeches sound like TED Talks ghost-written by a PR firm paid entirely in almond milk. And somehow, it's Arnold bringing the heat, calling out the chaos in the very state he once ran like a gym coach with executive power and a whistle, always at the ready.
It is about the United States of America. He doesn't believe in that. He believes in the red states. He's going after, it's a war. He's a wartime president. He's the head of a war party. War on women, war on voting rights, war on Hispanics, a war on this state, war on institutions, war on history. I mean, this is serious. This guy's trying to get a Nobel Peace Prize. That's what he's going to try to say tomorrow in Alaska, that he's the big guy trying to find peace? Really? when he's bringing war to the American people?
The funniest part? Arnold probably didn't even try to shake things up. He likely dropped a throwaway comment about California's leadership, and suddenly Sacramento started trembling like a 9.0. The man clears his throat and political pundits start parsing it like scripture. You could feel the collective eye roll from across the Pacific. Meanwhile, a governor who spends half his time insisting everything is totally fine suddenly found himself getting slow roasted by the one guy who can make climate change sound like a summer blockbuster. That's when it gets truly uncomfortable. When even the Hollywood crowd hesitates and goes, wait, whose team are we on? One's selling brute force, the other inner peace, and both swear they're saving the state. Impeccable timing.
To fight for democracy and to get rid of your democratic principles. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing against Newsom. We don't have a fight over this at all.
Yeah, because you guys met. What was that like when you guys met together?
It was a wonderful meeting. He told me what he felt. I told him, I said, I totally get it, because this is what you need to do to be the leader of the party. I totally get it, but I'm not a party person, I said. I'm a people's person. I always will fight for the power of the people.
Newsom's been strutting around as the golden child of progressive politics, casually eyeing the national stage. And then, bam, in walks Arnold, swinging a verbal dumbbell straight at the jawline, like California's karma showed up in sunglasses and a leather jacket. The subtext was basically, yeah, my time was messy, but people could still afford rent. Meanwhile, Newsom is probably wishing for an invisibility cloak right about now, ideally something sustainable and stitched together from recycled scandals. Naturally, the internet imploded. X, split clean down the middle. One side was flexing hard for Arnold's blunt force honesty, the other defending Newsom like he's California's last surviving avocado tree. Memes multiplied faster than housing prices, and somewhere Elon Musk was almost certainly tossing popcorn emojis into the mayhem. The contrast couldn't be more cinematic. One vision feels like a summer action flick, the other like a documentary insisting everything's fine, just as the lights start flickering.
Lastly, Brad, what's Arnie the Terminator up to in California?
So he's upset now about gerrymandering in California and in Texas. There's basically this big back and forth that's going on where in Texas, Republicans are planning on doing mid-decade gerrymandering, which is redrawing the legislative districts to give yourself more seats in Congress by kind of choosing your voters. This is something Democrats have historically been against and wanted to ban, but now they're saying they will do it too in response. So
Arnold's critique didn't just land politically, it landed personally. You can tell he's still emotionally tethered to the state. It's like watching someone drive past their old house and realizing it's slowly crumbling under new management. He probably tried to stay quiet, but there's only so much chaos you can watch before the inner Terminator boots up. Newsom, of course, stayed cool, because that's the California playbook. Smile, deflect, pivot to innovation buzzwords. But let's be honest, getting publicly checked by Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't something you just brush off. That's not some random critic. That's a former governor who held the same office and somehow made governing look enjoyable. And subtlety has never been Arnold's thing. He doesn't whisper criticism, he drops it like a weight plate. His version of diplomacy comes packed with metaphors about strength, discipline, and maybe a casual reference to crushing obstacles. One of these men is built like a tank, the other like a luxury electric car. And when the power grid goes out, Californians know exactly which one they feel stuck pushing.
Arnold is out here criticizing Trump and Gavin Newsom for doing it. I'm not sure he'll be able to actually do anything about it. It's kind of baked into our political system, but things are fine. Things are going amazing here. We're just kind of in a perpetual race to the bottom of who can take the shadiest step next to kind of rig the political system in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, do we expect anything else from the pin-up boy for stupidity, Newsom? No.
But here's the real twist. When Arnold goes after Newsom, he's also taking a swing at his own reflection. He helped build this whole circus. He's the godfather of California's celebrity politics era. Without Arnold, Newsom might still be practicing stump speeches in front of a bathroom mirror. It's a full circle moment. The original showman turned critic, dressing down his successor for forgetting the script. The irony is thicker than a protein shake. California turned governing into an entertainment franchise, and now its past and present are fighting for top billing. It's The Expendables, Sacramento edition, and honestly, what better way for Arnold to storm back into the spotlight than by throwing punches at the reigning king of California, cool? Meanwhile, Newsom is probably pacing in front of his mirror, rehearsing a response. But how do you clap back at a man whose entire existence is already a meme? You can't out-cool Arnold, you can't out-fame him.
Even Arnold Schwarzenegger is against what Gavin Newsom is doing in California. And that should tell you something. Here's what's going on in California if you don't know. Gavin Newsom is pushing a plan that would weaken the state's independent redistricting commission. The commission was created to make sure that election maps are fair. No political party rigging the lines. But Newsom's proposal could give more control back to the politicians. And that's where Arnold comes in. Remember, Schwarzenegger is a Republican, but he's not necessarily a Trump guy. Yet even Arnold Schwarzenegger says this move by Newsom is wrong.
Arnold's criticism hit harder because it came from lived experience. He knows how chaotic California can be, but he also knows when leadership starts using complexity as a cover. The unspoken message was refreshingly blunt. Stop treating the state like a philosophical experiment. Sometimes you just fix the potholes. That's it. Californians don't want TED Talks about renewable energy while their cars vanish into sinkholes. They want leadership that actually leads, not something engineered to photograph well for glossy magazine spreads. And that's where Arnold's jab really landed. He wasn't just poking at policy, he was torching the whole aesthetic of modern politics, where leaders look like models, speak like motivational coaches, and still can't keep the lights on. That mix of sincerity and absurdity is exactly what made him a phenomenon in the first place. You can almost hear him saying, "When I was governor, we lifted California up," literally. And somehow you'd believe it, because even when Arnold exaggerates, it still feels more grounded than half of what passes for leadership today.
Now, this movie star and former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is preparing to battle Governor Newsom over Newsom's redistricting efforts. Ashley, explain to us how Schwarzenegger is planning to fight against Newsom.
He's back. The former governor of California, he's back. He has a beef with the current governor, and he says democracy is at stake. Schwarzenegger is angry with Newsom for planning to redistrict California, who are doing that in response to the same effort.
Of course, the media devoured it. Headlines exploded. Pundits tore the moment apart like it was a championship bout. Some hailing Arnold as fearless, others labeling him hopelessly out of touch. Meanwhile, the rest of the country watched in bafflement, wondering why California keeps turning its politics into a Netflix series. But Arnold's jab cut deeper than the drama. It exposed California's ongoing identity crisis. The state wants to be a moral compass, a climate savior, a tech utopia, yet somehow still can't keep gas under $7. Arnold basically voiced what plenty of people have been thinking. Maybe stop trying to save the world and start fixing California first. That mix of blunt honesty and theatrical flair is what makes him so unpredictable. You never know if he's campaigning, trolling, or doing both, and that's half the power. Charts crumble, talking points vanish, but a perfectly timed one-liner from the Terminator slices through it all. Facts may fade, but charisma, that lasts forever. And in that arena, Arnold is still undefeated. At its heart, this clash isn't just personal, it's symbolic. Image versus substance. California has mastered the art of looking successful while quietly buckling under its own weight, and Arnold had the audacity to call it out, loudly, confidently, and with enough swagger to make it go viral.
But, Christian, you know, you're in California. I have a lot of people here in Australia talking to me about Gavin Newsom, asking what I think about him. And I feel like this is one of those moments that's very revealing about the guy's character. I mean, if he's going to be so petty about this, you know, is everything just going to be this political fight, turning everybody into either friends or enemies?
Yeah, it's a bad look for sure. And it's something he shouldn't really be engaging with. He should just honor the ex-governor, who's obviously a huge movie star and a pop culture icon, and just leave it there. I mean, I think that's magnanimous, and I think it's what people want to see.
Amid all this chaos, you can almost hear the collective groan of Californians tired of polished incompetence. For a fleeting moment, Arnold became their unfiltered voice, the guy saying what no PR team would ever greenlight. But don't get it twisted. This isn't a retired celebrity blowing off steam. It's deliberate. Every comment, every jab feeds the Arnold legacy machine. He's reminding people that while the new generation tweets about progress, the old guard actually did things, budget cuts and questionable movie cameos included, and yet you can't help but chuckle at the spectacle. Two wealthy, photogenic men squabbling over who loves California more. It's like a beauty pageant for politicians who refuse to age gracefully. One has the tan and the teeth, the other has the muscles and the memories. The more you think about it, the funnier it gets. A man whose career was built on pretending to save the world now lecturing another man for pretending to save the state. Hypocrisy in high definition, and somehow it's magnificent.
And when Arnold speaks, people listen. He literally said that trying to mess with this commission is dangerous for democracy. By the way, we don't live in a democracy, we live in a constitutional republic. Think about that for a second. It's not just Republicans that are criticizing this. Arnold has worked across party lines before, so if even he is against it, you know it's got to be a big deal. At the end of the day, fair maps mean fair elections, and nobody should be afraid of fairness, but I think Gavin Newsom is. That's why Arnold Schwarzenegger is calling out Gavin Newsom's plan, because once you let politicians draw their own lines, the people lose. I agree with Arnold, and I disagree with Gavin Newsom. What do you think?
Arnold might not be running for office, but when it comes to authenticity, he's running circles around today's politicians. He doesn't need consultants or catchy slogans. His whole persona is the slogan. And when he targets someone like Newsom, the contrast feels straight out of a blockbuster. Newsom talks about progress. Arnold talks about action. Newsom tweets. Arnold lifts. Newsom forms committees. Arnold builds gyms. One is polished, the other primal. And in politics, primal wins hearts faster than polished ever will. Sure, the headlines will fade as they always do, but the image sticks. The former governor smirking while the current one scrambles to keep his composure. It's political theater at its peak. Unscripted, absurd, and somehow completely believable. Every California leader eventually faces the Terminator's judgment. A symbolic passing of the torch, except the torch is flaming and wielded by a man who refuses to age. And maybe that's the real lesson. Politics has become entertainment, and entertainment has become politics. Arnold is just blurring the line he helped draw. Newsom may be the sequel, but the original still commands the fan base.
Schwarzenegger is calling out President Trump as well, saying that gerrymandering is evil, and he used the word evil no matter who does it. It's unclear how hard Schwarzenegger will fight Newsom or what form that opposition could take. A recent picture, though, posted to Instagram showed the former governor wearing a T-shirt that read, "F the politicians, terminate gerrymandering." So we know where he stands.
So while the headlines fade and the next manufactured outrage sweeps in, one thing remains clear. When Arnold speaks, people pay attention. Not always because he's right, but because he's impossible to ignore. And in California, that can be more influential than actual competence. Somewhere, a political consultant is probably weeping into a kale smoothie, realizing no focus group on earth can match raw charisma. Newsom will smile, shrug, and act like none of this happened, but the internet never forgets. That clip of Arnold calling him out is already immortal, a digital monument to California's never-ending political drama. Here, the explosions aren't just on movie sets anymore. They're real, they're loud, and sometimes they come wearing sunglasses. And just like that, Arnold Schwarzenegger became the most talked about man in California once again, without lifting a single weight, just with a perfectly timed eyebrow. Thanks for watching.